A few hours remain until the SRC election here at the University of Pretoria, and we've gathered a couple of candidates from each portfolio to really have their last say before you as the voters in terms of why exactly they deserve your vote come tomorrow's election that is set to take place at the University of Pretoria. Good afternoon, I'm your host Thrive25 and welcome to the SRC election debate for the portfolio SRC Treasurer, powered by the Elections Management and Consulting Agency of Africa. Allow me to introduce our candidates for this debate. Furthest from myself, we have Lesedi Murao. Next to her, we have Kilebogile Tapala. And next to Kilebogile, we have Kanyisile Etladla. Next to Kanyisile, we have Letabo Pahlane. And next to Letabo, we have Gift Zulu. Thank you so much for taking time to join us for this debate. A few ground rules before we begin, just so that we know that you're comfortable and you're settled in and you know how this is going to work. Please ensure that you're respectful at all times, as no form of discrimination will be tolerated at all throughout the debate. A question will be asked to each and every one of you, of which you'll have an opportunity to respond to that question, and candidates will then have an opportunity to respond to what you have said in response to that question and possibly add their input as well. And for time reasons, please try to keep your arguments as concise as possible, and let's try our best not to interrupt one another when speaking, as we'll all be given a chance to speak as well. Seems pretty self-explanatory, right? Yes. Exactly. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start with Kanyisile. Kanyisile, you have the mic, so you'll be the first to speak. You know, South Africa is currently going through a lot financially, right? And often this has a ripple down effect in terms of what happens in terms of the finances at the University of Pretoria. How would you, as SRC Treasurer, ensure that the responsible and transparent management of student funds and maximizing the impact of those student funds?
Hi, and thank you for the opportunity. I'll make sure that there is a budget workshop where we will hold a small session where I will explain the budget on how it works. Yes.
I'm going to allow you to shift the mic over to Letabo. Letabo, you know, you've just heard the solutions that have been suggested by Kanyisile. Do you think that is enough to address, student funds and allow for their maximized use?
Greetings to everyone in the room. I don't think it is enough in order to address all the financial challenges that are currently being faced by students. What I would suggest is that the SRC needs to work on a needs-based budget, which will prioritize essentials such as housing, food security, and academic elevation of the students. Now, what we will do as the SRC is that I was suggesting that the SRC needs to be able to have a committee that is going to go out there and look for sponsorships, so that we ensure that on top of all the money that we're going to get from the university, every rand combined with the money from sponsors is used efficiently. And additionally, I also believe that the university needs to with every UP vendor on campus, they need to be a certain percentage that is allocated to students, because these businesses are still operating fully because of the students that are buying every day. So the money from those businesses needs to help the students that are on this campus. With every sandwich that is bought, with every ice cream, a certain percentage needs to go to helping the students.
Now, Gift, you've heard the solutions that have been posed by Letabo as well as Kanyisile. Do you think that these are enough in terms of the issue that we're currently facing?
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Greetings to you guys. With what Kanyisile said, I think she has a good solution. It's just that she's not elaborate, and we need the solutions to be more of an action plan. You understand? What she's saying, financial education is very vital. You cannot plan a budget without having that education, because what are you going to do with the money in terms of academic support? What are you going to do with the money in terms of NSFAS delays or food shortage? Then coming to Litabo. The council is a good initiative, but I believe that the SRC team can actually be that council. And remember that Treasure works with study finance, hand in hand with study finance. So I think having a council will be wasting the resources that we already don't have. Because remember, maybe having those council meetings, you should organize venues, and in that venue, you need certain resources. And already that will decrease the budget that you have as an SRC treasure. Also, transport, the other things that need to be addressed. So I think in terms of the council, we should focus more on hosting the student forums where everyone is there. It shouldn't only be people with blazers who represent the students. Students have the voice for themselves, and they can speak and they can tell us what they want and what's or not. It's a great initiative, but I think it should involve students, not us as leaders who are the blazers.
And you're mentioning something incredibly important, but I'm going to allow Letabo as well as Gilebogile to weigh in. Letabo, you can go first.
Firstly, I spoke of a committee. If you have read the CSG, you'll know that the Treasury Office cannot have a sub-council. Hence, I am opting for a fundraising committee. Secondly, if you're speaking about involving the students, if this committee will be made up of random students, it's not going to be the SRC, because we can't say it's wasting the resources, it's wasting the time, because as the treasurer, you have other issues that you need to deal with. So spreading the work evenly amongst other people will essentially help the office to run more efficiently.
I'd like you to pass the mic to Gilebogile. Gilebogile, I'd like you to weigh in on this conversation. It seems like solutions are being, posed left, right, and center. Are these the right solutions to address this problem?
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. But what I want to emphasize more, my fellow debaters here, they're based on students with no funding, I can say. Here, we as the SRC treasurers, we must also focus on what about those students who were funded by NSFAS. And because NSFAS this year, it supports 653,000 university students, but they had to cut ends to meet the expected target, which is 417,938,000 beneficiaries, in order to meet the target where students are funded. We should also have emergency funding for such students who face this sudden hardship. It's not we shouldn't focus only on unfunded students whatsoever.
I'd like you to pass the mic to Lesedi. Lesedi had something to say as well, and then we'll pass the mic forward again.
All right. Greetings to everyone in the room and my fellow colleagues right here. All right, I agree with Letabo with the Treasurers Committee. This committee will be made up of subcommittees, faculty house treasurers, and we can use this committee to actually make our fundraising more complex and have more opportunities to actually raise money. We can raise money in faculty houses, raise money in sub-houses, residences. And again, I want to emphasize more on everyone's solutions. I hear your solutions, but I feel like your solutions are not practical, right? They are not practical enough. They are just theories. And what I have a suggestion of is that why not invest in the recycling buyback products? For example, we can recycle bottles so that we can raise money to help those students who are financially excluded, help students those that don't have food, help students that have historical debt. I mean, this is a practical solution and it can actually work, because if we upscale bottles and we recycle more than 100,000 bottles every month, we can make about 320,000 rands every month from just recycling bottles. And that can actually go into helping students who are financially excluded, students that don't have food. I mean, we need practicality, not theory.
A big suggestion there from Lesedi, practicality and not theory. Letabo, what's your response to that?
Firstly, let me address something that was said by our fellow debater, Gilebogile. She assumed that we are speaking about a certain demographic of students, whereas my colleague and I had not yet mentioned which students we are speaking for. You just assumed that we're speaking for the people that are self-funded. That is it's very wrong to assume. So we as contestants, well, me personally, I am speaking for all students, whether self-funded, whether NSS funded, whether self-funded self-funded, unfunded, because there's a huge difference between being self-funded and being self-funded, unfunded. You see? Thank you. And according to Lesedi, with your recycling project, now let's narrow down the stage to, let's say, the recycling of cans or bottles, like you say. Now, on average, if you recycle one can, it costs less than 1 rand. Even if you were to recycle 1,000 cans, it would still not be 1,000 rand. Now, that kind of solution would not only be slow, but it would also require a lot of manpower from the SRC, which the time could have been used to address other student issues, because there are many. We're not just facing funding only. There's many other student issues that need to be dealt with. So I feel like your solution, as much as it can work, it only works to a certain extent, but it does not address the real issues which need a lot of money. For instance, now currently at the University of Pretoria, we're sitting on over 1 billion, just slightly over 1 billion in student debt. And that should tell you that money that is for 1,000 cans, less than 1,000 rand, would not be enough.
I'll let Lesedi respond in a few, but let's take the mic to Gift. You've had your hand up for quite a while. Gift, what's your response to some of the things that have been said by your fellow candidates?
The fellow candidates, they are really speaking facts. But with my fellow candidate sitting next to me, the reason why I said sub-council is that's what's written in her, posters. It's written sub-council. So that's why I said sub-council also, because it's not mentioned committee there. So it's new to me to hear that, okay, it's a committee. And with my fellow debater, the recycling is a good initiative, but let's not forget why we are here. We are here because of academic reasons. So I believe that will be time consuming, and we have a lot, especially in terms of food distribution, in terms of NSFAS defunding students, in terms of even people who are self-funded, they can't afford the buying groceries because of what? Inflation. Inflation in South Africa is very high. We can't even afford food. So I think the budget should be more focused on those issues, and whoever is handling the budget needs to be strict and cut down on costs that are not necessary, such as projects for the management just to enjoy, for larger. We should be focusing on students and putting the students first, I think.
I'd like you to pass the mic to Lesedi to kind of respond to some of the things that you have raised, as well as that Lethabo has raised as well. Lesedi?
All right, Lethabo, I hear you say it's going to be time consuming, right? And you know that when you are part of the SRC and you are under treasurer, the university actually limits us from raising funds outside. Are you aware of that? I hope you are aware of that too. Another thing is that let's not forget that a lot of students are actually being academically excluded. Instead of us giving them theories, why not give them practical solutions? I mean, we can also ask for their help so that they can assist us in making sure that this recycling project is progressive and it makes the money that it needs to make. And again, that's not the only solution that I have, right? I feel like the university has a lot of reserves sitting doing nothing. Why not use the reserves to actually help students with their historical debt? Right? That's a second solution. Number 3, the third solution that I have is that all outsourced companies at the University of Pretoria, if they are making more than 10 million, they should actually be able to adopt 25 students and assist them with funding or historical debt. And then if they are making less than 10 million, they can actually assist 10 students with their finances that they're struggling with. That's practical solution. Let's not speak about theory, guys. We need practical solutions that will help students. It was very painful last year seeing a lot of our brothers, sisters, friends, deserving students who actually get distinctions in this university being financially excluded without practical solutions. Let us have practicality, guys. Let's talk about practicality. Let's talk numbers. Let's not talk theory, because theory will not take us anywhere, but the numbers will.
I'm going to let Lethabo respond to this, just to close this topic off before we move on to the next one. Lethabo?
Just before I respond, I'd like to address something that was said by a fellow, my colleague next to me. So he said that in my posters it speaks about a sub-council, but if he had been present at the manifesto presentations for Treasurer, he would have known that between when we submitted the motivations to MCA on Sunday and Thursday on the manifesto presentations, there was a lot of room for change, and that's how we came to a Treasury fundraising subcommittee. So if you had been present, you would know that it's now a subcommittee. Thank you. And with regards to what Lesedi was said, yes, I do know that currently the SRC is restricted to, in terms of going out there to look for funds, and that's because they do not have SRC autonomy, which is something that it takes common sense to know that if I'm saying the SRC needs to go out there and look for funds, that includes the university granting the SRC autonomy to go out there and approach those financial institutions all on their own without having a representative from the university. And additionally, yes, students need practical solutions, but in those practical solutions, we must also find things that are actually going to work. Yes, sounds like a very lovely idea. It can work for other things, but not to address serious issues that we have, such as the 1 billion that we're currently sitting on for student debt. 10 students, 10 million, you're speaking a lot of adopting students, but though it's not even a quarter of the students that we are currently facing financial exclusions from this institution. So we need to include more people.
I'll let Lesedi have her final say before we move on to the next topic, which I'd like us to move on swiftly. Lesedi?
Okay, me talking about outsourced companies. Do you know that the university hires different people for cleaning services, security services, camera services, transport services? Those people are outsourced, and according to the CSI, so corporate social investment and corporate social responsibility, it is their duty to make sure that the students that they're working in, I mean, these people work here. If it wasn't for us students, they wouldn't have job opportunities. They wouldn't be making the profits that they're making. Why not invest in student success? Because we are the reason that they're getting paid. We are the reason that they're making the profit that they're making. Why not invest in us? Why not invest in student success? That's what we need. We need companies that are going to invest in student success. Okay, I heard you speaking, but I never heard you speaking of a practical solution. What practical solution are you bringing to the table? Because students want change. Students want practicality. They don't want theory. They don't want promises. They want people who will work the ground and make sure majority of the students are registered. Whether it's 25 students, 15 students, at least we have assisted students. Because now you're just speaking of theory, not practicality. Thank you.
I'm trying to avoid this becoming just a debate between two people. I'd like you to shift the mic to Gilebogile. You know, Gift had mentioned something incredibly important a bit earlier on, and this was student participation, specifically with regards to the budget of the SRC. We spoke about the budget of the university and how you, as members of, possible members of the SRC, plan to have your so-called intervention within that budget. But let's talk about the budget of the SRC. Do you think that there is any place for students to get involved in terms of what the SRC is actually spending money on, and how would that actually take place?
Okay, thank you for the question. And yes, I think students should be more involved in how the budget is working, so that they know. For example, based on the SNAP funding, where they were already like giving away food and whatsoever, but the food is not enough to last the students for the whole month. They were giving away like 2 packets of noodles and expect them to last for a month. So the students need to engage in the budget so that they know what SRC are actually doing with the money. Because from the previous years, the quarterly reports that I read, they're claiming they're helping students with food. But when I look at the food that I was receiving last year, it was oats and noodles and what are they doing with the remaining money? They should be involved so that they can help build, and maybe, I don't know, so that they can know how the budget is working.
So transparency, student participation. Can you see, like, you've heard what, Gilebogile has just had to say. Do you think a lot more needs to be done? Do you think that students need to be integrated in terms of the SRC budget? Should they have a say in terms of how the SRC spends their money?
Yeah. Yes, I think students can, like I said before, as we are going to have a budget workshop, students can come so that their voices can be heard also. So we'll display the budget on how it works or where it's going, where the money is going. So when doing that, it could show transparency that we also part of the, we don't just get money for ourselves or something like that.
Letabo, you seem to have something to say in response to what Kanyisile has had to say.
Rather more of a question posed to Kanyisile. When you speak about this workshop, how often is it going to happen? Is it a thing of students only being involved for that one time, or what is it? Because I would propose that the SRC, well, me, if I was to be in that position, well, rather let me say, when I'm voted into the position, I will ensure that there is a financial, a digital financial dashboard where students can monitor their SRC income and expenditure. In this way, they will know how SRC funds are being used, what they're being used on, and how many students actually benefit from this. So in your solution, it's giving they're only involved once, which sounds very wrong, because we are speaking on an issue of transparency, and transparency should come with consistency. It should be active and not passive.
I'm going to let Kanyisile respond before the mic moves to you, Kanyisile.
My bad, I didn't elaborate more on that, and I get it. So I'll do this quarterly most of the time. I'll do it quarterly every year. That's it.
Okay, responding to what Litao and Kanyisile said, based on the student being able to access the expenditures of the SRC budget and whatsoever. I personally, if I were the SRC Treasurer, I will dedicate a page on the portal where students can access the budget, everything, reporting, whatsoever. When I was about to run for this position, I didn't know where I could get the report and everything. Students need to be involved in everything SRC are doing, every step, a budget, a portal, more like, what's this? Okay, there should be a portal dedicated for SRC where students will access information based on the budgeting and everything they're doing. It will be updated regularly.
I'm going to let you pass the mic to Lesedi. Lesedi, you're hearing all of this, a quarterly meeting with students to decide what the budget should be, a budget that students are aware of on our portal every single day or regularly. Do you think that these are practical measures for students to engage in terms of the budget of the SRC?
Yes, well, with the portal page where students will able to track that every day, I feel like it's far-fetched because, right, we get funding every now and then. We will raise funds every now and then. So will we be able to update that every single day? Well, I feel like the quarterly student forums will be much better, where students will then be able to engage, have solutions, bring solutions to the table, right? I feel that that is going to actually work for us. And another thing, I hear you guys are speaking about portals, are speaking about everything, but I never heard you including disabled students, reports that are read, that will be posted audially on the portal, on our websites, through our emails. Let's include these people. Let's not forget that we have students with disability in our university, and then they should also be included in everything. They should not be sidelined. Let us make sure that we will bring to the table an audio report that actually tells them what is happening with the budget, where is the budget going, how everything is working. And another thing is that we should also include our students in actually fundraising, because I heard you guys saying that recycling may take time. What if we have students that volunteer to actually help with collecting the bottles and everything and making sure that this thing goes to a greater good, and we actually reward them with certificates to say they have helped other students, they have been there for other students, which can also go to their benefit. They can put that on their CVs and everything. Let us make our SRC inclusive, transparent, and very accountable.
I'd like you to pass the mic to Kanyisile, and then we'll get to you, Letabo, as well. Oh, Kanyisile seems to be fine. Letabo, and then Gift.
Lesedi, your statements seem to be very self-contradictory, because you recently just spoke about how a leadership dashboard, a financial dashboard, would be time-consuming. However, you go ahead to say we need to publish audios for students that are differently abled. How is that? How is that not time consuming as well? Because if you're against the other due to time constraints, you should also be against the other one due to time constraints. And also, I feel like transparency is a very important thing in such a way that you cannot be speaking about how being transparent with the students is going to be self-contradictory. It's going to be time consuming. If you cannot tell the students and show them how the funds are being managed, then you shouldn't even be trusted to manage them in the first place. I feel like the cost of not being transparent with the students is way higher than the cost of being open from the get-go. So I'm not disregarding the point about including everyone that is differently abled, which is why which is what brings me to my next point. How this leadership dashboard is going to be laid out is that it's going to have all the different options in order to accommodate everyone, because we are a university that moves with time. We are evolving in order to include every type of student. So the audios, even physical printouts that are in Braille for the blind students can be made available through this this leadership financial dashboard. So it's not that we're disregarding others, it's just that we haven't been given the time to elaborate further on how this is going to be structured.
I'm going to let Gift close us off. I mean, Gift, you were the one who basically opened this can of worms about students getting involved. In terms of, the SRC's budget, what's your take on some of the solutions that have been posed by some of your fellow candidates?
The solutions are really great, and that's why I want to boldly say no man is an island. So basically, no one lives alone. You are because I am Ubuntu. So I think every time we come together as leaders or as students in the student forums, we should be engaging more. But also with the debate that's currently happening, I feel like you're more focusing on the SRC budget. What about raising the actual money for the students? You understand? So we need to promote student businesses. We need to promote culture of the university. Even when we promote those things, but we should do it in every campus. No campus should feel like a ghost campus or excluded campus. It needs to show diversity. It needs to show that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So the ideas, they're good, and I strongly believe that if we just unite, we leave different colors, different perspectives, we come together, we sit down, we communicate, everything will be fine. And also with the student forum quarterly, having to speak about finances quarterly, I don't think it's enough. I think we should have financial statements every month. Those financial statements will build up to that quarterly meeting. Do you understand? And I do understand you maybe wanted to be elaborate on this, but due to time and the debate, you couldn't. But that's basically my perspective. That's how I see it. We should have those financial statements every month. When we meet the quarterly student forums, we discuss these financial statements. Then we get solutions from everyone. It shouldn't be something that is SRC focused. It should be everyone, faculty, houses, key committees, including the students. I rest my case.
I'm going to ask you to pass the mic to Letabo. Unfortunately, we are short for time, so I'm going to ask you the next question. It's no secret that the SRC often has to raise their own funding in order to have a budget in the first place. The university often doesn't give you very much, and so you have to go above and beyond and secure funding on your own. Assuming that you take up this portfolio, how would you go above and beyond and get funding from wherever you plan to get funding from for the SRC budget?
Now, let me just first start by saying waiting for financial assistance from university management is like waiting for rain in a drought. You don't know when it's going to come, if it's going to come, and if it does come, you don't know if it's going to be able to sustain everyone. So I am very big on the SRC gaining dependency from the management and essentially looking for other sources of income apart from what the university is willing to offer them, which is why this takes me back to my manifesto, which is why I am advocating for what? For SRC autonomy, in order for the SRC, well, the subcommittee in this case, because that's what I plan will be dealing with such kind of matters. The subcommittee needs to be granted autonomy so that it goes out there and looks for potential sponsorships. Now, potential sponsorships done right are something that can be very beneficial to the students. But however, even with those sponsorships, we have to look at if ever they serve the students in every way possible, they need to align with student values. Additionally, it still takes me back to my manifesto again. 10% or more of every item sold by UP vendors on campus needs to be directed towards the SRC Treasury office in order to help alleviate all the financial challenges from students. This is just some of the few ways that I plan on making the SRC leave the dependency on management in terms of financial allocations.
I'm going to let you pass the mic to Lesedi. So 10% of, the shops that are at UP, they should be, their 10% earnings should be allocated back to the SRC Treasury. Do you think that this is a viable solution in terms of gaining funding for the SRC Treasury Department?
Well, I think it might be a viable solution, but then now, aren't these vendors that are catering on campuses actually owned by the university? For example, the dining hall, is it not owned by the university? Okay, I'm going to move from that. I want to speak about the fundraising budget that can actually help us, which is the Tusangwanumung initiative that we'll put into place. This will now be the one fundraising, having money from these outsourced companies to adopt students, going outside, making sure that we get bursaries from other people and other NGOs that actually want to help students. Third, we will expand partnerships working with alumni, NGOs, and local businesses to sponsor food combos, safety, or bursaries. By diversifying streams, this way the SRC will generate new money without new debt, allowing us to sustain vital student-led activities. I then go back again to my manifesto. I have presented it in my manifesto, and it seems to be a practical solution. I hear you, Lethabo, you're speaking about SRC autonomy and stuff, but then let's speak practicality. Let's speak about raising funds. When are we actually going to say to the university, use your reserves to actually fund deserving students who are getting distinctions, students who are actually doing their work for being here, students who deserve to be here? Why are we not telling the university to use its reserves? Because one thing for sure, do you know that the University of Pretoria is the second richest after the government, and it owns majority of the land after the government? Do you know that? And do you know that it actually makes a lot of money a year with its farms and resources? Why not call out to the university and say, dissolve historical debt of students? Dissolve historical debt of students, because these students are actually doing their work. They are working. If you are getting a 75 GPA or 65 GPA, why then is the university letting you out? Why is it locking you out? Why is it depriving you from education? Free education in our lifetime, we always say. But why are we not calling the university out and saying, you have these reserves, let's use it to help and assist students? These are the things that we should be talking about, practicality. Thank you.
Given the fact that this question was posed to Lethabo, I'm going to let Gift answer first, and then Lethabo, you'll answer after.
No, this debate is very much progressive. But from what I've heard, what I want to say is, I looked at the university strategic plans from 2022 until 2026. It shows that each and every year the funding is shrinking. So meaning that we need to go outside and get investments and so forth. And it's gonna be quite different or quite somehow if we don't look at the university strategic plan and also try to formulate our own strategic plan as the SRC. Remember, the SRC is there to govern the students. So we should also formulate our own strategic plan alongside the students. Even though the university already has their own strategic plan, then we sit down the management and we see how can we use both the strategic plan to drive the university forward. The main reason why you are at the University of Pretoria, Universiteit van Pretoria, is because of also its name and also its reputation and what it can do to you internationally, even when you apply for a job. So let's not help students by also trying to put the university down, but let's help students alongside with the university. You understand? So that's why we have to have our own strategic plan. The university has their own strategic plan. We come down, we sit down, and we discuss that. But students, they need to be involved in this student forum.
I'll allow you to pass the mic to Letabo, and then we'll get to you, Lesedi. Letabo?
You mentioned how the funding of the university is shrinking every year in terms of how they are able to help the students with the financial aid that you can apply for through the portal. Now, I'll tell you for free why that is shrinking. It's shrinking because the university is constantly increasing fees. So if the university puts a hold, freezes the increment of fees, it will enable the SRC, give it more chance, more time to look for sponsors that are actually going to match the financial needs of students. Because, as I said before, it does not help to go out there to look for sponsors only to come back to the university and find that the fees have increased. Our fundraising efforts will turn into nothing because of that. So when you say compare the university's budget with the SRC's budget, this university is never going to meet us halfway. If they keep increasing the fees, then it shows very well that they are not willing to meet us halfway. And additionally to you, Lesedi, I feel like if you're going to run for such a portfolio, you need to do thorough research on what the university owns in terms of what you've just said with the cafeterias. Only few items in the tax residences cafeterias are provided by the university, and those few items include the sandwiches and just smaller other things, but most of the things are outsourced from external companies, which is why I would say the university needs to cut the middleman so that food pricing can go down. Provide the students with the items directly so that they don't carry the burden of paying the middleman and the university also making profit from those things, because we know they are very profit-based. They prioritize the name of the university and their money, how much they make as a university, over the students. Most of the products are outsourced. So that part, let's not spread misinformation of how you said the university provides those items. It doesn't.
I'm going to let you pass the mic to Gilebogile. She's had her hand up as well. Before I ask Lesedi the last question, unfortunately, we are short for time. This is a very interesting discussion. But Gilebogile, you've had a lot to say or a lot to think about regarding what's been said by your fellow candidates. Just give us more insight in terms of what's been on your mind.
Okay, I want to speak about what Letabo mentioned, kind of like disagreeing with what Gift is saying. Remember, we are here to help the students. We are the voice of the voiceless. This is not about the university. The South African economic condition necessitates prudence. The nation, an increase in the production of goods and services in an economy over time. The university increasing fees, it's not that they want to increase the fees, it's due to inflation. So what we must do, we must not like trying to put the blame on the university. We must come up with strategies that's going to help the students. Let us not put the blame on the university. We as the SRC, we must come up with plans. How are we going to help the students?
Okay, we can debate on this topic for quite a while, but I'd like you to please pass the mic to Lesedi as we get into our last question. We could really go on for hours and hours. Something that's being echoed a lot is transparency. Another thing is accountability. the SRC Treasury Office has a big responsibility in terms of issuing funds to various different other, committees or other societies as well. They're in charge of issuing funds in terms of that as well. How will you ensure that, given that you're allocating funding to the various different parties that are getting this funding, that this funding is used accordingly and is not used, wrongly in a way that does not actually benefit students at all? I'm going to start with you, Lesedi.
All right. With distributing the budget to societies and things like that, I, as a treasurer, I will make sure that I do these visits to these particular treasurer committees in societies, faculty houses, and sub-houses, like I mentioned, that we should actually have a treasurer's committee where we will be able to raise funds together. I will do a monthly check on them and make sure that these things are actually being used. The funds are used to the student benefits, not their own benefits or building political empires. Yes, I think I would do that. And again, quarterly student forums. These reports will be printed out as to where the SRC is actually taking their money and how are they using it. Yeah, I think that is how I will make sure that this thing is transparent, and I will be held accountable for any mistake or misfunding or disallocation of funds that is actually not monitored and do not know where it's going.
I'd like you to move the mic forward. Gilebrile, you also have your hand up, and then we'll continue to move the mic forward. Gilebrile?
I want to add to what she said, based on accountability. As we, as the SRC, I want us all, we should ensure that the budget located for certain expenditures, they must stick to that. We, as according to the report, weak oversight is a global issue. We might have like fundraising, or we might have the budget for certain things, but we must make sure that budget that is for that certain expenditures must be followed. I feel like accountability is what we must look into. It's very important. We overlook it, but it's very important.
And Kanyisile, do you have something to add?
No.
Okay, Letabo?
Just thus, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. The question was, how are you going to ensure, as the SRC Treasurer, that the money that you're going to allocate to societies and other, let's just say societies and the university, is going to be used for the right things, right?
Yeah, it's used accordingly and does not infringe on the students.
I think our colleagues have diverted from that, so I'll just address you directly. I believe that before we can even, Lesedi spoke about how she is going to go in person to these societies if ever they're hosting an event to see that the money is actually being used for the right things. But how do you even approve something that you don't know is legit? You see. So before anything, I would say the society, if ever it wants to host an event that is for the empowerment of students or anything along those lines, they need to submit a detailed plan of action and a detailed budget as to how much they're going to need, for what, and it must go hand in hand. It must correspond with their plan of action. Then we'll take a step from that. We can't just start by giving funds and then saying, no, but I'll go and check later, is the event going accordingly? You have to know first before you even give them the funds. But additionally, I think with the issue of transparency, the quarterly student forums that are being held are enough for the students to hold the SRC accountable. Well, if in this case they're going to be matched with what I still call the digital financial dashboard, where the students will be able to monitor in real time. So they can combine that with whatever that has been said in the student forums, the quarterly student forums, in order to hold the SRC, the Office of Treasury, accountable.
I'll let Gift close us off before, you all have your parting shots as to why students should vote for you, Gift.
Leaders, you are progressive. Guys, my perspective on the transparency and accountability is transparency builds trust, and without that trust, the students do not believe in our leadership, we will just be headless chickens wearing blazers. You understand? So in order to build that trust, that's why as much as we're going to have the student forums, we need those financial statements every month. Do you understand? Of what is happening. And to add on what Litabo said, it's important that whatever vendor or whatever resources that they need to provide slips. You understand? Slips as evidence, you attach them with whatever that's needed, and you keep them in a safe place. And also, as a treasurer, you not only focusing on the budgets of societies, there's so many other portfolios there. We have day student, we have facilities, we have what so forth. So I think we should really understand the importance of also delegating some responsibilities and working along with the study finance in terms of the financing and the establishing of the transparency and accountability. And hopefully the president is someone who can govern and can make bold decisions if needed.
So I'm going to give you each an opportunity, and Gift, actually, you can keep the mic. You can go first. I'm going to give you each an opportunity to just give your parting shot. The SRC elections obviously begin tomorrow, the 20th of August 2025, and students will have their say in terms of who they would like to represent them. So I want to know from you, Gift, why should students vote for you? In just under a minute, explain to students why they should vote for you tomorrow.
Mine is very simple and straightforward. I serve the students. I'm for the students and by the students. I do not want anyone to vote for me because of any affiliation that I may be known of. It's not about the colors, it's about the ideas, the manifestos, in order to enrich student life and in order to ensure that as much as we are enriching student life, we produce one of the best universities, because that's also good for us, for our reputation, and also for our careers. So mine is very simple. I work for the students, I'm by the students, and I'm with the students, and I'm an active ground force. I will always be there to facilitate everything, and transparency, accountability, and very, very high on discipline and high morale. That's it. Thank you.
Let's have a, why should students vote for you in tomorrow's SRC election?
Well, I, as Letabo Pahlani, believe that I am the students are me, and the Office of Treasury belongs to the students. With that being said, I am calling on to the student populace of the University of Pretoria to bear in mind when voting tomorrow the people that have been fighting for them ever since the year has begun, the people that have proven to be serving the students more than caring about the image of the university or serving the management. So students, when you vote tomorrow, don't just vote for a pretty face. Don't vote because you know the person. This is not a popularity contest, but rather is about who is going to bring sustainable solutions for the students. So I am saying, trust me with your vote, and I will safeguard your investment with integrity. Thank you.
Kanyisila, why should people vote for you in the SRC election that's kickstarting tomorrow?
I'm going to keep it short, and my goal is simple. In every cent that I'll manage, it must translate into real opportunities, real support, and real change for the students. I see beyond the spreadsheet. I see the students, their stories, and the change that our money can create.
And Gelebogile, why should students vote for you in tomorrow's SRC election?
I, Tapala Gelebogile Helen, running for the SRC Treasurer. The reason why you guys should vote for me is because I believe in transparency, inclusive. I believe in the system that is fair. So vote for me because I am the voice of, I am your voice. Whatever issues you encounter, I am your go-to. No matter what, whatever, I'm here to listen to your voices so that we can attend to your matter.
And lastly, Lesedi, why are you the best candidate to fit or to sit in this portfolio?
I am the best candidate to sit in this portfolio because I am a creative mind. I bring change to the table. I do not bring empty promises. I bring practical solutions. And I believe that all the funds, I will make sure that every student knows where every rand goes. We will use funds to build student life, not political empires. Accountability is not optional. It is the heartbeat of the trust between the SRC and the student body. I believe that I am the best candidate because I have also faced historical debt and I know how it feels to be locked out by the university saying that you cannot register. But if you vote for me, the change will be brought to the table, not just empty promises, not just theory. Thank you.
Lesedi ke lebogile Khanyisile Lethabo and Gift, thank you so much for taking time to join us for this SRC debate. A reminder that these are your candidates for the portfolio, SRC Treasurer, and you will have your opportunity to cast your vote tomorrow in the SRC elections at the University of Pretoria.